listen to your breath?
Hi, Ma. Daniel stood up to hug her as she approached. His knee bumped the corner of the table as he moved, and his coffee sloshed out of the cup into the china saucer. A waiter appeared at once to take it away. I was just coming to warm this up for you anyway, Mr. Grundman, the waiter said. I'll just bring you a fresh one. This place is so fancy. You remember you used to come into town and you would come to the apartment and I would feed you? I do remember that. He remembered the endlessly repeated list of his favorite childhood foods, each item accompanied by commentary. Those bologna sandwiches, she would say, with the mustard. I always preferred mayonnaise, but you had to have mustard on yours or you just wouldn't eat them. You remember? And he would say, I remember. Then after a pause, and peanut butter and jelly, you used to put potato chips right on the sandwich. No matter how many times I explained to you that the potato chips go separately, you would open up the sandwich and put them right inside. You remember? And he would say, I remember. At a certain point, he had lost the ability to be certain of what he actually remembered and what he remembered only as part of their call and response ritual. Thanks for coming uptown to meet me. My timing on this trip is very tight. Oh, honey, I don't mind coming uptown, not to meet you. I just took the E up to the 14th and then the shuttle over for the 6th. Easy peasy, really. I had hoped I could get a real break in the day to come down closer to you, save you the trouble, somewhere walking distance. No real trouble, honey, truly. I don't really walk as much as I used to. It's not my legs. My legs can take it. It's just I run out of breath. Isn't that something? I used to be in such good shape now. But I really did want to get a chance to see you while I was here. That part was entirely for her benefit. He had tried to schedule the trip so tightly that he would have no time at all to spare. When that proved impossible, he had hoped against likelihood that she would be unwilling or unable to travel all the way up to the east side to visit with him. As though he had not spoken, she went on, seated now, taking off her gloves and carefully stacking them beside her silverware. Can hardly go a block before I'm reaching for my inhaler. Did I tell you I have an inhaler now? It's the stuff they give to people with asthma, but I don't have asthma, not really. Do you mind if I smoke? I don't think you're allowed to in here. I suppose not. They don't let you smoke anywhere anymore. It's a subtle kind of fascism. Yes, that's the problem with fascism. The health regulations. Very funny. Anyway, I don't walk around so much anymore. I just took a cab over to the E train and then the E train to 14th. Yes, and then the shuttle. He heard the dismissive snark in his voice and wished he could take it back, but that moment was gone and she hadn't noticed the tone. Right, and then the 6, and the cab from the train to here was literally just $6. I can reimburse you. I'm sorry it was such a hassle. Not a hassle at all. You worry too much. And as I said, literally $6, including the unfare. That's what I call the money that's on the meter before you even tell them where you want to go. I call that the unfare. That's funny. You can use it if you like. I probably won't. In one of your little stories or whatever. Okay. He opened the menu and looked at it for a bit. Are you eating? I'm not sure. I'm not really hungry. I don't mean right now, silly. She patted his hand. I mean in general. Oh, yes. Yes, I am. The waiter set down his fresh coffee for him along with a new tin tank of half and half. Do you have Jameson? Ellen asked the waiter. I beg your pardon? Jameson? Irish whiskey? Most people call it Jameson's with the possessive, but it's actually just called Jameson. Ah, no, ma'am. I'm sorry. We don't have a full bar. Doers, then. We only serve wine and beer, ma'am. Oh. Ellen's disappointment was palpable. Sorry, Daniel said. I didn't know. Oh, that's all right, honey. Then she said to the waiter, can I just have the cheese and bacon panini, extra crispy for the bacon? Of course, I love those, the waiter said. And anything to drink? Just, I don't know, just iced tea, I guess. All right. And for you, sir? Just keep refilling my coffee until I vibrate and die, thanks. The waiter chuckled politely, took the menus, and went away. Lindsay does that too, all the time. The waitstaff at restaurants, doormen, always making jokes with the people. You get to see her often? Every few weeks since she's been in town. She's very busy. She's running a show. He stirred in the cream, tapped the spoon, set it aside, lining it up with the edge of a small cocktail napkin. I thought you said you were eating. In general, not right now. Anyway, she gestured as though she was about to go on, paused for a long moment, and at last asked, "What was I saying?" He considered. "You were beginning to go on a fishing expedition. You asked if I was eating as a way of leading up to questions about my finances, about my work, about my life." He said, "I don't remember. Something about the price of cabs. Huh, I don't recall now. It can't have been important." "No, I suppose not." "If I pay for lunch, will you have something?" "No, I'm paying for lunch, and either way, I won't be having anything except coffee." That's right. He sipped his coffee. The waiter brought her iced tea, and she sipped it, her lips turned downward in disapproval of the taste. "This is how I know I'm not an alcoholic," she announced, unprompted. "If I go out and they don't have what I want to drink, mostly Scotch or Irish, I'll just have something else. I don't really like wine or beer, so I just won't drink for now." "Good for you. You don't drink at all, do you?" "Occasionally. I'm trying to remain fully present as much as possible." "But occasionally?" "Mostly if it's a business thing and I don't want the other person to feel like they're being judged." "That's funny." "Is it?" "Yes. You really do come up with some very witty things sometimes." "Thank you. Anyway, I've always been very careful not to let myself become an addict. Your father and I, when we used to travel, sometimes we would go out somewhere for dinner or to a show or something, and they wouldn't have Scotch there or Irish. Sometimes he would drink wine, but I never much liked wine. So I could just wait until we got back to our hotel, or we could stop at a bar later on our way or whatever. It was never that important to me." "Yes, I can see that." She sipped her iced tea again, her lips presenting a broad indication of distaste. He saw the tiny creases around her lips, cultivated over years of pulling smoke through filters and broadly indicating distaste at spiritless beverages and sentimentality in the arts. "So, is that what you're in town about?" The question took him by surprise. He tried to catch up, failed. He said, "Your mathematical proofs that you're not an alcoholic?" "No, you goofball." She patted his hand affectionately. "You know, your writing. We were just talking about it." "We were?" "A little. You said something funny. I commented on it, you know." "Ah, yes. Yes, that's what I'm in town about." "Good news, I hope." He shrugged noncommittally. "I won't really know until after the meetings." "You used to tell me everything. You remember that?" He nodded. He did remember. "I have to be careful now." "Oh, come on. It's not as though I'm going to steal your ideas." He snorted. "That's not what I mean." The waiter refilled his coffee and said, "Your sandwich should be ready in just a minute." "Sometimes I just have to keep my work separate from you." "I don't know what that means. What could happen?" He sipped his coffee and decided to try speaking some subtext aloud. "I used to feel you were living through my accomplishments. Now you feel I'm living through your inheritance," she said. He chuckled. "That's very funny. You can use it if you want." "You know, you can use it." "Oh, I don't write anymore, honey. You know that." "You can if you want." "Once your father and I got married, I know. There was never time after that. There's time now. I'm going to step outside and smoke while I wait for my sandwich." "Don't." He felt something important coming, a breakthrough, something to tell his therapist about when he got home. "Are you sure you don't want to drink?" she asked, as though that was connected to anything that had been said thus far. "No, I'm trying to remain connected to my emotional life as much as possible. It helps with my process." "Your process?" "My writing." "Oh, that's silly. A lot of great writers have been drinkers." "Yes. I don't think it was the drinking that did it, though." She picked up her gloves and gripped them with unnecessary determination. If you see the waiter, could you flag him down? I think I'd like a glass of wine with my sandwich. Yes, if I see him. Wine isn't my favorite, but it'll do in a pinch. I'll flag him down if I see him. I think I'm going to step outside for a smoke as long as the sandwich isn't here yet. She stood up. Get me something red, but not too sweet. She walked outside, and he could see her breath even as she tapped a cigarette from the pack. He saw her light it, as she had done so many times over the course of his life. She brought the flame toward her face. The light flickered against the tip of her nose. It seemed he could smell the sulfur of the match, the first puff of tobacco smoke. They came with the gesture and rhythm of her motion. There was no parsing fact from fiction, memory from ritual. He muttered, I remember. He loved her. He felt the love suddenly. And for just a moment, he thought a glass of wine might be nice. He decided against. He turned his coffee cup slowly in its saucer. His mother smoked beyond the glass. He watched her. He remained fully present. The window gave him just enough distance. He could love her through the pain.